Hello, I'm Pauline Dujardin, Vice President of ecdn. Thank you, Dieter. And I'm working in France, in Cresus. I think almost everyone know because I speak about Cresus in each webinar, but it's an NGO in France. We have, I will present it really fast, but we have different structure, and one structure is funded by banks and credit organisms. So that's why I do this webinar about funding, debt advice funded by private sector. So you see my presentation, I think?
Yes, no problem, Pauline.
Thank you. So as I said, and that have an importance about the structure I will speak about, we created Cresus in 1992 in Alsace. It was just a little association which was helping people who have a problem with their finance, and especially people which were living in Germany, because it's in Strasbourg, just near Germany. So French people who were fired during the economic crisis and had problem to pay their mortgage loan. So normally it was just 2 years and 20 beneficiaries, and we had the anniversary of Cresus last year of 30 years. So because of this activity, just in Alsace, other associations came to us and asked us to disseminate the model in France. So we created the Federation Cresus in 2004. It's 30 NGOs and 30 associations which are independent. Those NGOs, I will say, are normal NGO. So in terms of funding, it's state subvention or local subvention. And we have the Fondation Cresus, created in 2008, which I will speak about today. So what I said, the association Cresus on the field are funded by local and state subvention. Since 6 years, the state made a label, the Point Conseil Budget Advice Point, and give 15,000 euros each year during 2 years for those associations. Other associations, we are not labelized, are subventioned are funded by government or local administrations, and try to create partnership with local social workers. And the Cresus Foundation Association is funded by companies such as bank or credit establishment, which is a little bit surprising, I think, in the field of social work. And these banks and credit establishment address their vulnerable customers to the platform of Cresus in Strasbourg. It's a fund platform, I will explain later, and pay for the support given to them. So today I will explain you how we came to this idea, how we came to this structure, how it works, and if it works, and how you can take some of our strategy for your building stable debt advice services. First thing is how the idea came to create partnership with economic sectors. You know that in social work field, normally it's more NGO like us and are much more funded by subvention. There is, I can say, at least in France, a wall between NGOs and between economic actors. After 15 years of activity, the Cresus in Strasbourg remarked something. Households are ashamed because of their financial situation, and come just when the situation and when the difficulties are already important. So it's good. We have a great procedure in France for over indebtedness. But what we wanted to do is find a solution to have the people before the over indebtedness to make something else or over indebted without going to insolvency. So we wanted to meet households before the over-indebtedness. We wanted to not to depend of political decision of the government for the financial aspect. So I spoke about the subvention of state, but the state can decide to withdraw the subvention. So we didn't want it to be dependent. And we wanted to make the creditors pay for the support of households. We could almost say, you make the pollution, you pay. So we created this structure step by step. The first step, it was in 2008, and Cresus, so La Banque Postale, which is a big organism in France, present a call for tender for in his new credit organism. So he wanted to work with another credit organism, which have experiences. And in this call for tender, it contains, so the offer of one of the credit organism contains a part of support to vulnerable customers. So this French credit institution didn't win this call for tender, but we spoke with them, and this big French credit institution took the idea to work with Cresus for its clients and to help and to support their vulnerable customers. The idea, I'm sorry, but I repeat it, but I think it's really important. The idea was really to detect people as soon as possible and to avoid over-indebtedness procedure. And then the third step in 2010, I think it's really important, this idea to support vulnerable customers was taken by the state and by financial organism, and they negotiate the banking inclusion charter in French, which include the obligation, I really say obligation, there is sanction if it's not respected, for financial organism to support their fragile client. So you will, I won't read everything, but you see in the Article 8 of this charter that credit institutions, payment institutions, financial company undertake to offer their customers whom they have detected as being in a situation of financial fragility, appropriate internal responses, and in particular, to offer by any appropriate means a meeting with the consumer concerned in order to discuss his or her financial difficulties. If necessary, so it's a second step, provide the consumer with information on a third party that can help him or her, or even with the consumer's agreement, put him or her in touch with that third party. The idea is to say, when you are a debtor and when you are in financial difficulties, it's really hard to say it and to explain all your situation to your creditors. So they can't do a good support for them, and there is a conflict of interest. So this charter make in this regulation the possibility to transfer the file to an NGO, which, as we say, third of trust, can help the people to facilitate the situation of the person. So the purpose of the foundation, so this structure is to prevent over-indebtedness by focusing on social innovation opportunities. So working alongside financial actors such as banks or other lenders, you will see, I will speak about banks because we work with them since many years, but we have to, and we want to find other partner to help the most people possible. So the financial actors, the banks, detect clients in financial distress and, if possible, before the situation of over-indebtedness. As I said, people are ashamed to their situation. So it's really hard for them, and I don't learn I don't learn everything to you, but it's really hard for them to go having some help and to having some help for Cresus or any NGO. So the idea is as soon as the banker sees the first difficulties, because he sees the account of the people, he can detect this client and propose to him to be helped, not by him, because there is a conflict of interest, but by Cresus. So these clients can then be routed to the National Phone Helpline of Cresus Foundation. Why a national phone helpline? The idea was really to touch every people in France, and it's not always easy to go physically on debt advice services. So the national phone helpline permits people to be home, to be in their so in somewhere they are not seen, and to be helped by the Cresus Foundation. So as a trusted party, the financial support platform in Strasbourg helps the beneficiaries to make a diagnosis. That's always the first thing in debt advice of their financial situation, and provide them with appropriate recommendations to resolve their financial problems. The idea is really to say, the banker sees something, he detects, he gives us the people, and then we make a diagnosis with them to propose them the recommendation. It can be over indebtedness because the lender doesn't know in each situation the budget, because people can have many accounts, for example. So they speak to us, but I will speak about it. It's really confidential. So we don't say to the bank, we did that with this paper, we did that. So we do what we want. If it's an over-indebtedness file, we do that with the people, even if it's an erasure of debt, which is at the end of the procedure. But it can be, because normally it's person in the first sign, it can be just legal counsel. It can be, for example, just budget support, or asking the judge to suspend all the credit monthly payment. So we have a we have many possibilities. And so in addition of this financial support, the platform offers a mediation and arbitration service, which aims to increase the beneficiaries' money available each month by renegotiating their monthly credit payments. The idea is we are working with some credit institution. They know us, and they can trust us. So we will see all the budget of the people, and then we will propose each lenders a negotiation to increase the money available each month. So that's a schema of how we work. Detection by the partner, then beneficiary agrees to be helped by Cresus. We are not here to help people who don't want to be helped. And then this financial support platform will do some loan mediation, if it's possible, insurance mediation. Why? Because what we see is that people are, in many cases, have too much insurance, even insurance they don't need. So we make a diagnosis about insurance, and we work with insurance organisms which can propose solidarity offer for them. And since 3 years, we are doing SME support, because we remarked that more and more people in France are being their own boss, and that it's that normal social workers are not trained to help them. Sorry. So the mediation process I spoke about, the mediation's aim is really to contact the beneficiaries' creditors, proposing to them to reorganize their debts. So reducing the monthly payment, increasing the duration of the loan, or reducing the interest rates. This allows to increase the beneficiaries' available money each month. And for Cresus, this means food, clothing, hygiene. What you have to know is that we are doing this mediation just if the person is not available to go to the over-indebtedness procedure, because the over-indebtedness procedure is most cheaper and more protective for these people. What you have to know, and I will speak of funded, is all these debt advice services of the foundation are based on prescription. You can't, if you are a normal citizen, you can't find the number of this financial platform. It permits to us to be funded by the people, so the partner, which detect and prescribe this solution. So the Cresus Foundation is funded by creditors, bank and credit organism. So they pay a financial compensation for providing debt advice services. It's around 300 euro per file. When I say that, it's 300 euro if we support the person something like 3 months or 7 years. It's really for the people. And it's finally a prestation like a normal enterprise could do. And we ask these banks and credit organisms to pay a fixed sponsorship, which depends on the size of the institutions to finance the research and the development of the Cresus. I have to say that if in France we have a special regime of tax reduction when enterprises are making some sponsorship to NGO, because we are recognized by state as general interest association. What is really important is that this support, which is paid by the banks, is always and must stay free for the beneficiaries. These persons are not paying anything. In the prevention action of the foundation, we create a dilemma. I think some of you are already know already this game. So it's a game, and it permits to change the relationship to money, train responsible citizens and consumers with the right tools to gain autonomy and financial independence. The idea is really to have a board game, like you saw, I think, in Malta too, with Willy Pierre online in Temida in Bulgaria. But what we are doing for DILEM is that we always, it's mandatory to have some ambassadors which are trained by DILEM. They pay this training, and they are trained by DILEM to be the leader of the session, explain the rules, the content, to be the expert of the section regarding the public and their needs, and the moderator of the debates, because the idea is really to speak each other. And the idea, and that's the economic model of what we do, is that we are doing some dilemma session, which must be paid by the person who wants us to come, and we train some ambassadors which can do dilemma session in his own structure. The idea is really to say, this game, I think it was 4 years of R&D, and we had to find an economic model to that. So we are working in the dilemma. We are working with banks too, and enterprise and companies which are paying to make some animation with us. What principles must we must respect for building such a structure and such partnership? We have to stay open. As I said, I don't know if your own country, but there is really a wall between the economic actors and the NGO in France. And I can say, to the experience of Cresus, the foundation was created in 2008. We have much more to earn by working with banks and other financial institutions than to be against them. You will say me, yes, why? Because I can say that in many credit institutions we are working with, we saw a change of practices. I won't say that it's a paradise and it's just responsible lending, but we really see, because we are exchanging every time about how they have to deal the person in financial distress. The idea too, when I say to stay open and to not to be afraid to work with them, is that when this possibility allows us to touch so much more person, because they don't have to come to us. They don't have to make the food to us. Stay independent. That's the first. Second thing, it's really important. You have to remain a trusted party to the beneficiaries. And I can say you that that's normal. Some people, some beneficiaries are saying to us, you are working for this credit organism. We are not working for, but with. And the idea is really that all the information the clients gave to us stays in our file, and we don't share personal data of these people. And we have to remain because otherwise people won't speak to us, and if we don't know the situation, we can't help them. In the principle, you have to stay pragmatic. You have to prove the effect of the action of the structure. And for that, we really claim for the importance of a solid IS to give solid statistics. Sorry. As I said, we don't say, yes, with Mr. X or V, we did that. That's not the thing. But on the 100th file you gave us, we have those type of population. We made, I don't know, 30 file of over-indebtedness. So it's big statistics that can help them to make the score, for example. What is important to work with partner in the private sector is to get recognized by the state. Why? Because you will have an impact on government policies. We have some fights here in Cresus about our French policies. And if you are recognized by the state, this will help you to go to the big credit institution and to say, yes, I'm recognized by the state, I do good job, and I speak with everyone. What it's important too is to build a trust relationship with the creditors, and that works just by showing our impact. Why it's a good thing for you, big credit institutions, to work with Cresus, because of our mediations loan, but we avoid X% of over-indebtedness, or we increase the money available each month from 200-300. So now the people won't have problems to pay their rate. Using the professionalization to make your expertise recognized by the state and the partners. What is important to say is that in this structure, people who are working there are all employees. In Cresus Association on the field, it's almost just volunteers because we don't have so much money. But for the Cresus Foundation, it's former banker, not in retirement, but former banker which want to go in the other way. And it's really reassuring for a partner when we say we are working with people who know how you work. And last thing is to don't hesitate, and it's not just by funding by private sector, but I think it's really important when you build your debt advice services, not to hesitate to make the immediate contribution. Why? Because the situation we are meeting are really hard. It's really important to show this situation. And I can say, because I'm representing Cresus in state and government commission, but also in banks, that you have really an impact when you speak about one case and the reality of the situation. And you have to use the media to move everyone to act in favor of the debt advice. I spoke with Mr. Kiel, the president of Cresus, to prepare this webinar, and he said to me, once he had 3 people who killed themselves in the same week because of over-indebtedness. So he decided, and he was already working with credit institutions, but he decided to make a press conference, just to make a call and to make an alarm to everyone, to say, the situation is really terrible for them. So you will say to me, yes, but if you work with credit institution, you can't speak freely in the media. So I decided to make you, that's an example of an article in the media. In this article, Mr. Kiel, so the president of Cresus, is saying, yes, we have the problem with credit, we have a problem with the bank. And he denounced it. And it avoided, also he said that credit institutions are working always with us. How to convince partners to work with debt advice services, because it's a little bit surprising. Why would they work with us? For many reasons. Because they make economy by avoiding, for example, over-indebtedness procedure. They are improving the corporate social responsibility of their company. And it's another argument is when you, as credit organism or bank, you are finding a solution to help the people with a third party. So you build a fidelity for this client, even when they are in a difficult position. So I didn't abandon you when you were in the difficult position. So those clients will stay for these banks because this bank made something for them. I wanted to show you, it's a little bit old now, but we made a study by the McKinsey cabinet in 2011, and we wanted to show the economical impact of debt advice services for the state and for the financial institution. And that's really the point, to work in prevention and not and as soon as possible. For financial institution, they have reduction in interest income, write-down of debt, and legal support. So that's a cost avoid, because in France, when you go in the over-indebtedness procedure, 50% of the file have debt erasement. Even when you have credit plan, reimbursement plan, the interest rates are reduced. In the most of situations, there is no interest. So the cost reduction per file, which avoids over-indebtedness, is 16 for one year, for one file is 16,000 euro. In 2011, with Cresus, it was 125 million. I'm not sure for the million. I will check that. And then for the state, it's always a thing. If you make 3 euro in debt advice, I think it's 5 euro you make an economy. So in social debt, so the cost reduction per file, which avoids over-indebtedness, is 2,000 euro, and the total estimated cost savings in 2011 was 15 million euro. So you have to take this argument of financial economy with working with us in prevention. And what it's important too, I think, is the financial sustainability of this model. I can say now that the Cresus Foundation is stable, but this model stays fragile because it's based on voluntary decisions of creditors. In France, it's a little bit different because they have they have obligations to help their client in financial distress. So it's an argument for us to make them work with us. It's really important and that's what we are doing now, to work in the diversification of the partners. So if one partner decides to withdraw for the next year, the other allows the model to stay stable. That's always what Mr. Kiel say. When you want that one credit organism work with you, you have to say that the other is already working with you. You must stay in permanent prospection of new partners. It's important to be known and to be seen. So we have to participate at events about financial inclusion and state commission. And the last thing is really to develop new programs to reinventing yourself. So we had the financial platform I spoke about. Dilem came later, so in a prevention way. Then we had we just built a web app about budget manager. And now we are working on a web app for microcredit. So that's what I can say about funding debt advice in the private sector. And I let you the floor to ask me some questions. Thank you.